Today is the day for the lucky. Will the deal go down? The Spurs teach us again. Al Jefferson, or sorry, the role of big men's and a defensive tenant. It's all next on today's edition of Tip Off. Bum, 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 bum. Rabbit's foot. Bum, 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 bum. Whatever silly superstition you have. Bum, 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 bum. Horseshoes. Bum, 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 bum. Fingers crossed. Bum, 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 bum. Yes, whatever good luck charm you have, 28% or whatever it may be riding on the lottery today. And I talked to everyone around the league, a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people around the league yesterday, a lot of different things about this whole lottery situation. And the one consensus everybody had was that as important as it is for the Warriors to pull off this tank and get their pick, and thus are interested in possibly trying to make a deal with the Jazz. The concept of a playoff team getting the eighth pick of the draft and adding to their cadre of young talent is huge. So today could be a very, very big day for us. I had a quick thought I wanted to share with you. Mitt Romney dropped a new iPhone app yesterday, and they misspelled America on the app. It was a really cool app. You could take a picture of yourself, and then you could put kind of an Instagram type thing underneath it that shows your support for Romney. It was really cool. And they made a mistake, and it's a gaffe, and you got to be able to laugh at it. I mean, I brought it up. I sent it out. People had fun with it on the internet, and people got mad at me about it. Like, stick to sports. No, it's funny. See, like, I subscribe. Let me make sure you understand where I'm coming from on this. I got my opinions. Unlike most people in the world, I actually don't think that my opinion should rule the world. Or I think it would be a bad idea if everything I believed actually got in power and ran the country. I think it'd be a bad idea. I think it'd be bad for the country. I might believe these things. It might be the core of who I am and what I believe in things, but the country would be a lot better off if I took your point of view and I took your point of view and you took mine and we melded it together into something. That's actually how this was formed and how it's supposed to work. And so, for example, one, if you can't laugh at these egomaniac, narcissistic men that believe that they should run for president when they make a mistake or their crews, I don't know what to do about it. You got to be able to laugh. Okay? I mean, Obama makes gaffes. I mean, dude, there's mics on you all the time. Stop with the side conversations. Really? Okay? It's pretty simple. Joe Biden, if it weren't so darn sad that he continues to put his foot in his mouth every time, and they have to lock him away for months at a time. I make jokes. You got to laugh at all of them. Like my version of humor, a little bit, is I subscribe to both the Obama email and the Romney emails, and when they come in side by side, it's laughable. Okay? I mean, just realize you're being played by all of them. So there, that's my politics talk for the day. I just had to get that out. It's hysterical. Like one of my favorite ones, by the way, I'll just share this. Is I got an email from both of them on the same day about the other's qualifications. So I think it was Obama was stupid enough to start with whether Romney was qualified, and then Romney's camp had to like just knee-jerk reaction and send it out themselves, and it was so laughable. First of all, they're both brilliant. They both have unbelievable resumes. They both have amazing qualifications. They're both perfectly well suited to run our country. I mean, okay? I mean, Okay, you got it. All right, lottery. So I did the huge breakdown yesterday. If you missed it, what is 28% worth? It's been fascinating to talk to everybody around the league about it. I shared with you some opening thoughts there. Here's what I got late yesterday from some people that are close on the Warriors end of things. They're not involved in the Warriors, but they're close on the Warriors end. That there have been real proposals made back and forth. I mean, this and where we stand right now simply is that the Jazz have established what they believe to be worth it for them to bypass the 28%. And what the things are on the Jazz radar that they think move the meter. Uh, I have some idea of what those are, but I'm unfortunately a little hamstrung in how much I can share right now because I would probably start revealing more than I could. and who and where I got some of my stuff and put them in trouble. So I have to be a little careful there. But just say that the Jazz have gotten pretty clear on what it is they're asking for. And at this point, the Warriors don't believe that bypassing their 28% that 28% risk is significant enough. Now, I'm recording this at 6:45 in the morning. The Warriors just tanked an entire season, and they really have got to get a pick. They can't afford to have all the money they put into scouting not get used. They can't afford to not have a positive PR move. They need a pick. So I'm not sure whether the Warriors are going to come around on one or two of the items that the Jazz basically are saying is what it costs. I think there's two scenarios from what I heard late last night that could get a deal done. And I don't know whether the Warriors are going to come around on either one. One of them, to me, if I were the Warriors, I would do. Um, and you never know if I have all of the details on it right. And the only other thing I would tell you, and I apologize for being as obtuse as I am here, is I think you would agree. I think that generally the value set for the Jazz is significant. The idea of the Jazz possibly getting 28% chance at this pick and adding a player at this point is big. And that I think is what a lot of people around the league feel is that if the Jazz can add this piece, it would be a pretty darn big deal. For those of you that are probability masters, there's an interesting one here of when the whole thing started between the coin flip and the lottery. We were above 50%. We lost the first half, and so then we're now down to 28%. But when the whole thing started, we were still most likely going to end up with the 8th pick when the coin flip and then the lottery chances took place. So are we still most likely above 50% to get it? Or because the first action happened, everything changes? If they'd happened back to back, how do you feel? So it'll be interesting today. I have my daughter's Little League game at 6 today, which is when the lottery is. So you will, I'm not, you'll get delayed reaction from me. I think will be the right way for me to do this, not to be checking my phone at 6 o'clock while helping coach a Little League team. But that's not guaranteed that I'm going to be a good enough person to do that. Last night's Spurs game. Every time I think every Jazz fan is having the same reaction. Every time we watch the Spurs right now and watch them torch somebody, I think all of us are saying, all right, maybe Al Jefferson's defense wasn't good, but wow, they're making everyone look like that. Kendrick Perkins is definitely thought of as a pretty good defender. Serge Ibaka was an all-defensive team just because we love block shots. And they both looked ridiculous last night. Tony Parker torched. Russell Westbrook in the cool on the pick and roll. Tiago Splitter, as we talked about in the before that series started, was the fourth best player in the NBA as the roll man. We are seeing that in that series, that they are doing all of those things. I actually would say I hope that and any of you that are the diehard group, the core group here that listens to this, I think you probably did take it all in. But a lot of the stuff that we worked on prior to our series is come to fruition in both their next two series. It's been very fun to watch the Spurs knowing as much as we do from the work that we all put in for our series to see this team and know what they're trying to run and how they're trying to do things and be able to, at least from my standpoint. We never value guys correctly. We put down our NBA I don't get to vote, but first team, second team, third team, and all of that. But let me tell you, the idea that Tim Duncan is not first, second, or third team big in the NBA is crazy. And it might not be points, and it might not be rebounds, and his defensive presence is still fabulous. His picks are great. It's a part of the game. Every single play that Tony Parker runs, what Scott Brooks said that they run 85 to 90 picks a game. Well, Duncan's setting the majority of these, and they're brilliant. the amount of angles and different ways he sets them and from different perspectives, and he gets guys free every time. He should be first team all league for the picks he sets. It's part of the game. It sounds, that's a silly. No, it's the essence and initiates their entire offense of how awesome he is at making contact. Watch the Jazz set picks. Our guys never hold for the pick. Al and Paul never set the pick. They got to get themselves open for the ball. Tim's setting the pick. It's really, really fabulous and deserves huge accolades. And, you know, there, you look and like, well, Parker's like second, third team. Ginobili's not part Duncan. Because their points and rebounds are right, their wins are right. Why are they winning? Because they do those kind of things. The Spurs now go on the road. By the way, I think this goes back to Tony Park's number, and I didn't update it today. But I believe the Spurs have won 25 of their last 26 on the road. It's just insane. These guys are great. And they play the game with such precision. They move the ball. And you have to ask yourself as you watch them play, Jefferson stops the ball. And I think it's a legitimate question. You don't have to play the way the Spurs do. But can you survive and can you win at high levels with the ball stopping as much as it does without? It stops a little with Paul too, by the way. But when the ball stops, it's very easy to defend. And I think it's why when we did the season in review on Al and we saw how dramatically different his numbers were on below 500 against above 500 teams, that's my big guess of why. I think, truthfully, if we're just going to isolate on Al for a second, some of the criticism we gave Al in regards to the pick and roll defense and Devin Harris's play against Tony Parker and a lot of those kind of things, I think are, hey, we got to throw this out the window. I tweeted it last night. Dear Al, we apologize, Jazz Nation. But I think the ball stopping you have to really look at for a second. You have to consider for a moment on whether or not that's something that you can win with. The other one is, here we are, and this happens every year. Gordy Chiesa talks about this all the time. We get into the playoffs, and you can't play both bigs. You can Garnett's playing the 5 with Brandon Bass at the 4, but sometimes they're even smaller than that. Miami's playing Joel Anthony with Shane Battier as a power forward. Matt Bonner is playing a great deal of power forward. And and Oklahoma City, who has these two bigs in Kendrick Perkins and Serge Ibaka, they can't play them both. This is not surprising. This is what happens in the playoffs every year. You have to have skilled players on the floor. Because what's happening is they can't get Durant the ball. Because no one's guarding Perkins and no one's guarding Ibaka and no one's guarding Cephalosha. So Harden comes in, then they start to guard Harden. And until they bring Daquan Cook in and play Durant at the 4, they don't have 4 guys you're going to guard. Or Fisher is the guy they've been using, and I don't think you're really guarding Derek Fisher, frankly. And so they're having, Westbrook's getting criticized for the amount of shots he's taking. That's not on Westbrook. Because Westbrook has the ball, he ends up taking the shot. Because they have a hard time. 1, their ball indirectly stops with dribbling. And 2, because they don't have 5 guys on the floor who can shoot, it makes it very difficult for them to move the ball to Durant. And that's a very telling aspect as the Jazz build this franchise. And, we talk about Millsap at the 3. It's why I'm still very reluctant on Millsap as a 3 because I'm not sure whether or not you can get, long term as games go small, whether you're going to be able to get enough. Now, maybe we're going to be the opposite. Maybe we build, you don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. And maybe our answer is, we'll go big. We're actually going to be the one team that stays big. We're going to try to pound you on the other side and see whether or not that works. But you do have to go out, as Ty Corbin was worried about in that entire series, you have to go out and try to play those three-point shooters at a pretty high level the way they shoot. Final thing, Steve Kerr's been fabulous because of his Spurs background on the TNT broadcast, and I give actually Reggie Miller credit because I feel like he's really taken a back seat to allow Kerr to be that good. And one thing Kerr talked about is one of the Spurs' defensive tenets. It was a great phrase, and it gave you an idea of how disciplined and detailed the Spurs are under Popovich. And one of those defensive tenets where you never leave a three-point shooter on the strong side. You never leave a three-point shooter on the strong side. And that was, I thought interesting, and two, I wondered to myself how many of the other 29 teams actually have true defensive tenets. Maybe all of them. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was a phrase that jumped out at me. That is today's edition of Tip Off. Get your Lucky Charms out. See if we can get the 8th pick today if the no deals come down.